In this video, I want to show you how to create your own Angular library. You can do the same thing for React and Vue. It's going to be a little different, but this is how you would do it for Angular. So what I'm doing is I've got a npm local repository. It's Veratico. So I've set this up and I've got it running on my machine locally here, and I can deploy to this. If you have a local npm repository at your corporation, I would strongly suggest you use that. But for individual use, Veratico is a wonderful tool, and I've been using it and I really like it. So let's get started. To begin with, we're going to create an Angular project, and we're going to call this project PRB button. In this project, we're going to have a library, and this library is going to contain our PRB buttons. So let me show you how this is done. First of all, we start with a command, and this is an ng new with the project name, and we have a prefix of PRB, style of SAS, standalone, AI config is none, and server-side rendering is set to false. And we're going to make this project zoneless, because everything is going towards zoneless. You want to do zoneless simply because it helps speed up your application. Now we're going to execute the command. It'll take a few minutes for this to run. So I'm going to stop the video and I'll start it back up once it's complete. Okay, let's do the next step. We've created our project. What we need to do now is go into the project directory. So I'm going to PRB button, and at this point I'm going to run, so now we're going to run the generate library for the PRB buttons. What this is going to do, it's going to create a lib folder. It won't be under source, it'll just be in a separate folder. If I don't add project root to it, it'll put it into what's called a project folder. I'm going to put it into a lib folder, and under there I'm going to have buttons. So let's start with this, and this just takes a few moments to create. It's much faster than creating the whole project. So all I'm doing is creating just a base part of the project. Now I'm going to open this project in my IDE. Let's go here. All right, so I have opened the project. I'm going to close the README, and we're going to look in our lib folder. So we're going to add this. I'm going to do a Control-Alt-A or to add it to Git. And so this adds my project there. Now, what we need to do is in here, this package JSON defines how your library is going to be stored in NPM. I want to call it @PRB buttons. So I'm going to rename the project right here in this folder as @PRB buttons. Now, to get it so that in my demo, which is going to be under the source app folder here, this is how I test my library. This down here will not be deployed as part of the library. This is only for testing. So when I reference a library, I want to reference it down in here as if it were actually installed. So I'm going to go in here, and here's my PRB buttons, and I'm going to change this to match the other. So it says @PRB buttons, and it's dist folder. Notice it's going into the dist folder. So that's where it needs to be, that's where it's going to be loaded. So we need to build that dist folder. So I'm going to add into the scripts here, npm scripts, a build command. So there's the build command with a watch for PRB buttons. So when I run that script, it will watch any changes in this folder, and it will create a dist folder update, but I'm not going to run that just yet. Now let me add, so I've got some publish and unpublish, lint and test I want to add as well. So these are the scripts that I want to add in here. Let's make sure. Okay, this is basic. This is the basic setup of my project. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go in. Let me show you. So I'm going to go into my programmer Roadblocks, and I'm open a new window here, and I want to get my buttons that I've created. So here are the buttons that I've created, and they all work with this button type. So this is used by the buttons. I don't need to have that exposed outside the library, but I need it inside the library to define the buttons. The other thing is the buttons are all based on PrimeNG. So what I need to do first is I need to go in here, and I need to add PrimeNG, which I don't have in here yet. So let me add those. So I'm going to install these. All right, so they should have been installed, and they were. Now over in my package, this is up in the library, because my library is going to be dependent upon PrimeNG. I don't need to have it dependent on the theme or the icon, but the PrimeNG it needs to be dependent upon. So I'm going to add that in peer dependencies right here, and I want to get that right there. So that will add my PrimeNG as peer dependencies. What that means is the library, whoever's using the library, is going to be required to have these dependencies as part of their application. Otherwise, the library is not going to function very well. Let's go ahead and go to the next step. The next step I want to do is I want to add the buttons that I've created in Programmer Roadblocks, but I want to add them as library components. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to remove these two because that was auto-generated and I don't really need that. I know that's going to have an issue because of this right here, and that is, we're going to change that in just a moment. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to Programmer Roadblocks, and I'm going to do them one at a time just so that you can follow. So I'm going to copy that, go back over here, and I'm going to paste that contrast button, add all that to get that into Git. Now, I don't want dot component on here, so I'm going to refactor this. And I'm going to take off the component, and yes, take care of that. Next thing I want to do is I want to go in here, and this, the prefix, I want to change to PR live because that's what I had said the other, because that's what I had set my library prefix to. Now, if you notice here, I have @buttons button type. Button type is something that I need to also copy over. So let's go back to Programmer Roadblocks and let's get button types. Let's copy that. Let's go back here and I'm going to add this to the library at the root of it. Paste, add that in, and I'm going to go back over to here and I'm going to change this so it just goes and looks up one level, and that'll find it. Okay, so that now is working. Let's go over to public API and let's change this. We're going to add contrast button. So we've added contrast button and we need to change this. We're going to just leave that. So that takes care of that. And contrast button. Okay, there we go. But I don't want component. I thought I had replaced that. So let's refactor this. Oh, I forgot to do my refactor down here. All right, so that fixed it. Contrast button, and it's just, let's double check things here. Just says contrast button, that's good. All right, so now we're going to go grab the next button. Danger button. Let's copy that. And I'm going to paste it in here. Add. Here's danger button. Let's refactor this. And we want to get rid of component. And we want to do a refactor. So now we've gotten rid of all that. We need to go into here, change this prefix to be plib, and we need to change this to get the button type from there. So far, so good. Now we need to go in here. Danger and danger. Okay, as I'm adding the buttons, I want to add them to the public API TS. This is an important file. This public API TS is what exposes your components to the application that is using your library. If you don't put them in here, they won't be visible. So like the button type, I could add here, but I don't need to. If I needed to, I would add that as an export as well. So I'm going to conceal that in my library. So let's go and get the next one. So the help button, we're going to copy that and we're going to go back in here and I'm going to paste that. And in the help button, I want to refactor this. Down there, make sure all that's done. Open this up. This button type, again, I need to go ... that takes care of that. And plib is my prefix, so the help button is in there now. And you can see this is all you've got to do is just go and copy from your project where you had it and then just put it in here. So now I'm going to paste this and I'm going to go in here. I'm going to change this. And lib. Now, I don't think I put help in here, but I'm going to do help and information in the public API at the same time. There's the help. Information, put a semicolon at the end. So those are on. So I'm going to stop the video at this time and add the rest of the buttons, but you get the idea. So what I'm doing is I'm copying over and I'm not really changing any logic. I'm just literally taking it out of my programmer Roadblocks project and I'm putting it into this library. So let me finish that up on the others. Okay, I've got all the buttons copied over, and as you can see here in the public API, I'm exposing all of the buttons. This part is ready. So my library is basically done. So what I want to do is I want to show my npm scripts and build lib watch. So I'm going to execute that, and that's going to create a dist folder up in here. So I'm going to make a change just to trigger it. Okay, there's my dist folder. I had to refresh the screen there. So in here is my PRB buttons, and here's the package. So this is the package that will be in npm, and this has my peer dependencies and my dependencies and everything else that is set here. So that's ready to go, and I can start using the library in my demo just to see if it works. So the only reason I have this source file here with the app is just to demo and test my library. So you want to test the library before publishing it because you want to make sure it works. I'm going to copy a bunch of stuff from another application here. So under app, I got features. And all those features. Each of these features is testing each button. And then I need to copy routes. So there's my routes. So I've updated that. So your app HTML is going to be the demo thing. We don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I've got a copy of what I do want over another project here. Copy that, and I'm going to paste that over the top of it. So PRB menu is not defined. It should be in features. There's menu in the features. Okay, I need to add a couple more things in my TS config here. So in my TS config, I need a base URL here. That's required. So whenever you have paths, you need to have a base URL. Let's see, what else am I missing? Oh, there's a themes, but that's not the problem. So one of the problems that you're going to see here in this demonstration is I have a themes that I'm copying in totality from my main project. The themes should be in its own library. That way all the libraries can just import those themes in the demo part of the library just for demo purposes. And also if you have micro front-end projects, all those projects are going to need to have the same theme. You don't want to have a different theme in each project. They all want to look at the same. That way you have a unified look and feel across all your applications. Let me stop this video and I'm going to figure out what's going on here and then I'll get back to it. Okay, I found a few problems when I copied the stuff and when I installed stuff. First thing is I did PrimeNG themes instead of Prime UIX themes. So I fixed that and there's a new version of PrimeNG 6, which is fine. So I've updated that. I need to go in and look at my library here. This package, PrimeNG 21.6, I think is the same as the other. Move that to the right. 281, 21.6, that matches. So we're good there. Close all tabs. All right, now the other thing I had to do is I had to copy all of the assets. This is for all my styles and stuff to get it to work. You might want to do that. You might not want to do that. You might want to put your styles into a library so that you just import the library to your other library demo applications. Styles is something you're going to have to deal with. You have to figure that one out. And I'm trying to figure that one out. I've done it at work. I did it one way. I want to try to do it a different way here. I want to see if I can get this package. So what I've done before is before we had these Prime UIX themes, I want to see if I can get it working with UIX themes, get everything working that way. And I'm hoping to do a video on that. What I want to show you here is that this is how this works. Make sure this is how you do your library. So everything down in the source is for demo purposes only. This is your library. When you build it for distribution, you're going to build your PRB buttons. I want to show you what the demo looks like. So I'm going to go here. I've got it running and let's go ahead and bring that up. So here's the demo library. You can see the contrast. So I try to do a button in the different. So here's a large, here's small. These are all small. This is a different styling. This has got drop shadow. You can't really see the drop shadow that well on that. You can see it better here. And the danger. So you can see the styling works. I could pull in any styling into my demo here. So I'm using the exact same styling I'm using in Programmer Roadblocks application. So if I go look at information, plain. Now if you remember, plain is pulling in by default. Plain would look the same as primary, but I changed it a couple of videos ago I did. Now the repo for this library I'm putting out in GitHub and I will leave a link to it in the video. Libraries are simple. It took me about 4 hours to create it. What I did here in the video is I just copied from the one that I created into a demo folder and I ran everything there. One other thing I need to show you is how I deploy this. So if we go and we look at, here's our buttons. I'm going to uninstall that. Okay, I just learned something new. When you're trying to publish your package, you want to build your package not with watch, because let me show you what's going on. In the distribution folder, your package.json, which is going to be used to define your package in NPM, is going to have a watch in there, and you don't want that. You want your version there. So the way to to get around that. When I tried to publish it, this is what I got. So I'm going to kill that, and I'm going to kill the watch, and I'm going to do just a regular build. So my regular build, let me show you where that is. I just added this in there. So it's the regular, it's just like this, except without the dash watch. So it's build lib. So if I build a lib, I run that, it compiled, everything's done. If I go up here and I look at my package JSON, it doesn't have that dash watch on it. Now I will be able to publish. Also notice I added description and author in there just so that it publishes properly. So let's go back down here now and let's try publishing again. So it published correctly. And if I go and I look at the web here, if I refresh this, it's going to show PRB buttons, and this is my user ID, and this is the version I have, and just it tells me it's published a few seconds ago. Now, another thing that you're going to run into when you're publishing a library, you must always increment. Even if I were to delete this, now my local repository, I can delete it and I can publish again, and that's what I've been doing. Veratico allows you to do that. But in your normal NPM repository, so let's say you're working with NPM repository or you're working in GCP. So in the GCP cloud, there is a way to set up a repository. It's an NPM type repository in the cloud, and you're going to have to change the version. Now, here's another little trick. If you do version 0.0.1 and you delete it, you can delete it, but it won't let you push another one of that version. You have to increment the version number. So it has to be 0.0.2 in order to push to it. So if you're going to GCP or if you're going to NPM, any NPM repository outside of this repository, you're going to have to increase this. Now, there are ways of handling that in your scripts, in your build scripts. It can be a little tricky. And I personally don't have a real clean way. The process that I had set up at work is you had to manually increment that when you sent it for final build, and then it would handle it that way. So this is something that you're going to have to figure out when you're publishing libraries, and it's something that you're definitely going to have to deal with. So I hope this helps. If there's anything that I missed in this video, please leave a comment and I will try to get back to you. And if it's necessary, if enough people ask the same question, I may make another video to explain it further. So I hope this helps.